and his daughter is going to hopefully appear with us.
I'll try this. Let's try like this. I'm all shook up. Another white, middle-aged man in a jacket and tie. When the first one stood up and used the words PowerPoint, I thought, oh no. And then I realised he's telling our story. Congratulations. Never give up. We feel so powerless. My wife and I are self-employed. I'm an artist. If I'm lucky, I'll earn about 14,000 in a year. My wife's a gardener with a broken foot, so she's not earning anything at the moment. But while we're trying to keep everything together on those bases, we're trying to look after our daughter. And you feel so alone and under siege. You hear all these stories, and they're kind of hypothetical. And then I sat over there listening to this PowerPoint presentation, and it was really moving. And over again I thought, that's us. And then I listened to what you were saying about people who are appealing. We're at week 28 of Lucy's appeal. Presumably they'll play it out until they put her on universal benefit. So, let's have a quick look. Lucy is 28. She is officially the most magnificent woman in the world. She was desperate to be here. From the loins of the second most magnificent. She was desperate to take part today. She never gives up. She's made a video. Who would like to be filmed in their bed tomorrow morning? Hands up. Who would like to be in bed so ill you can't quite turn over and want to be filmed? That's how much Lucy wants to take part today. What do you have?
Hello, my name is Lucy Ware, and it's a real honour to be part of this event in the only way I'm capable of being at the moment. I started the reassessment process for my personal independence payment 14 months ago. My daily living allowance was cut based on an assessment that didn't bear relation to my illness and symptoms. I was assessed on a universal set of rules, of criteria, which are arbitrary to how my body functions. The reason I can't be with you today is I've just had my third assessment with social services, who are taking over responsibility for my care, because it's now at a level where I can't simply rely on my extremely supportive friends and family. I've asked my parents to attend this event because I'm not able to reliably leave the house, and I feel it's extremely important that voices of people with chronic, often hidden illnesses are heard by the people who make decisions that affect the rest of our lives in every aspect. That's enough effort for me. I'm really grateful that you have all turned up today. And please do listen to the voices of the people on this panel. Bye.
She's taught children in a school in the outback in Tanzania. And 2 years ago, she was improving, coping, singing jazz in a local pub. And then the assessment came up. We've talked about this in our family. We want to use the words knowingly that the Department of Work and Pensions is criminally negligent. If you disagree, sue me. The interviews willfully get things wrong. In other cases, the DWP chooses to hold them in a magistrate's court, because you know that's where suspects go, upstairs. Here, that hasn't happened. But the last assessment was so wrong, we went to our MP, who has taken the case to the Secretary of State and got a response from the Department of Work and Pensions, who say that the nurse who assessed her no longer works there, but we all thought she was quite nice. I've got quite a lot of Anglo-Saxon at my disposal. I'm trying really hard not to use it. So, 75% of people who have a need are unable to work. 25% are homebound or bedridden. Of the estimated 15 to 30 million people who have ME, the York area has 800 unseen people. The PIP criteria, I won't repeat, fantastic words you've gone through. It's just not working. It is counterproductive. It does make people ill. Tonight I'm going to a support group with a friend suffering from depression who was so verbally beaten up at her last assessment that within a week she was in a psychiatric ward having made an attempt on her life. What a coincidence. Lucy was doing well until her last assessment. What a coincidence. In the silences, I was swearing in my head rather than out loud. So, we find that it's usually difficult to contact the TWP. This morning, Lucy's social worker said, oh yeah, we just can't get hold of them. When you do, the application form has 40 pages. Can you see someone like that filling in a 40-page form? What happens is that her two self-employed parents stop earning money, and particularly her mother, the second best woman in the world. And she does all this work for free. She spent a year fighting this appeal. That doesn't appear on the balance sheets. It takes months to process and get assessed, as we discussed. As you've heard, the assessments are stressful and exhausting. When Lucy told her assessor, I need a break every 10 minutes, the assessor just spoke through it. Eventually, Lucy couldn't go on after 50 minutes. Attending in person makes people ill. If only someone had invented a computer with some wires to another computer where you could talk down the line to someone. What could you call it? Would you call it Skype? But nobody's invented that according to the DWP. Any kind of blip costs you an immediate cessation of your money. And then there are the casual errors. Oh, Lucy, you can't have your mobility allowance anymore. We're taking your car away. Imagine the impact on that. Oh, sorry, mistake. Several weeks later, you can have it. In the midst of this battle, this daily battle, Lucy formed a brilliant plan. She was going to use her education and be an antiquarian book dealer. Until the DWP said, if you earn more than £16 a week, we'll stop everything and reassess you. That little glimmer of hope was taken away from her. Until 3 years later, when somebody said, oh no, that was wrong, you can earn £125. damage done, criminal negligence. But we won't give up. We will fight on, all of us. And I'm very grateful and privileged to have been allowed to speak to you today. It's a great deal I haven't said, but we're running very late. So if you want to hear any more, just ask me. Or Sarah. Sarah does all the legwork, I'm just the mouth and trousers. So she's got all the facts. And finally, Peter spoke about sounding negative. I can't tell you how liberating it was, how positive to hear somebody informed describing our lives. Thank you very much. Dad gets it wrong again. Lucy has a sign off.
I will be okay and have a roof over my head and people around me to help feed and take care of me when necessary. That is down to luck. The benefit system should not rely on luck. Were I not to have just one element of the network that keeps me going, such as 2 parents with strong sets of skills, eloquence, friends who can offer support emotionally and financially and practically, or mental health issues worse than mine, all of which mostly stems from loss of hope. I would be homeless now. Over the last year, I've heard of 2 or 3 people connected to friends of mine with ME who have committed suicide because the state has withdrawn the money they need to survive. And with that is the loss of care, which allows them to have some level of functionality. This is completely unacceptable.
Thank you. We're going to